All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Break it down with Brian H. Keeping it 100. Now goes to YouTube. That will be the format of this show. More on that as we get ready for another season. This is the 10th year of the wrestling realm, so get ready for these changes.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Break It Down with Brian H. By Keeping It 100, I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by the Wrestling Realm. If you haven't done so just yet, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to throw that up there on the banner for you. But I want you to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the podcast on all social media platforms. We can, we can provide a lot of cool content, a lot of entertainment. Do not expect the same weekly show that you get on Thursdays or sometimes live on Wednesdays. Break It Down with Brian H. There will be changes coming, but don't worry, folks. I'm still going to give my opinion. I originally started this part as just a podcast only, but kind of shifting that because you're going to see, it was announced. If you were paying attention in the airwaves or you listen to the podcast, you will know what the next venture is. But if you don't, you'll find out very soon. To everybody who has subscribed and continues to support the brand, I really appreciate that. This has been 10 years, folks. 10 years. Well, this May, I should say April wasn't the first time that the real Dwayne Allen and I had a meeting to create this brand. And, it all ended with a degree in Morgan State University. I should say we're starting, it would lead to the degree, but the brand has allowed me and Dwayne to not only do things in this space, but other spaces as well. Why? Because quite frankly, they see the wrestling realm and they know we are serious. So I'm really excited. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming on to, come along with us for this ride. And, like I said, I put the logo up there. 10 years, folks. But let's talk about it. Today's episode, I've said that, if you saw it, we will talk about Roman Reigns and Apollo Crews. Now, if you was watching this past Friday, you saw Apollo Crews backstage. You saw him sitting there with Roman Reigns, and Roman was kind of schooling him on how things should be, and you saw Apollo sitting there just listening. And this is why I think this is good, right? One, a lot of us have been complaining about how black wrestlers being used. When he came in to the WWE, before he was there, he was Uhaa Nation, I believe. And we always heard about all these cool moves he could do, how great he was in the ring. Even when he went to NXT, we saw it. However, I personally said that I felt, they called him up too soon. And I think it was mainly because the roster was getting thin at the time and they needed to bring on people who they know could work. And that's what you do. I mean, at the end of the day, it is wrestling, right? So I was wondering, okay, I want to see him kind of go next level. I want to see that personality. And I didn't really see it that much. When we saw with the Hurt Business, everything going on, you kind of thought, maybe, what if he joins? But he didn't. He did wear the United States Championship, which is pretty good. And he had, he's been battling Big E, trying to get a hold of that title. And he hasn't been successful. Hasn't been successful at all. So when you see what's going on, and then you see him sitting there with the head of the table, the tribal chief, the guy who makes sure everybody eats, he's soaking up as much knowledge as he can. Now, the thing I was watching, I said, all right, cool, I got to talk about that. But the thing that really went next level for me was when Apollo went on to Talking Smack, and he was speaking with Big E. And there was like this friendship thing. And Paul Heyman, the special counsel for the tribal chief, said, you guys pretty much ain't gonna get nowhere being friends. Sometimes you gotta leave with hate and turn your back. We all know everything he stands for. Well, What did Big E said that was unnecessary, but Cruz kind of hinted maybe he's right. And you see this and you say, look, everything he's been doing before is not working currently. So why not? Why not try to change? So I'm looking to see what happens in the next few weeks. I think he will eventually steal the belt from Big E, and I think that might be a little feud right there. I want to see, I like seeing Roman in this leading role, growing as a leader. We all know he's going to be facing Kevin Owens at the next pay-per-view. So what happens? Y'all let me know what you think. But I really like Apollo Crews here. I really like to see something new. And it's always interesting to see when somebody makes that change. Like I said, we know the wrestling is there, but what can he do? Learning from Paul Heyman, learning from Roman Reigns, you got to figure if he joins up with him, he's going to be traveling with him and he's going to be around him more. So that's the part that's going to be fun to watch. So just wanted to do that, talk about that real quick, folks. Like I said, break it down with Brian H, keeping it 100. Like I said, format's changing. I'll bring more of these short videos. They'll be on YouTube and on the podcast platforms. But and if you haven't done so, check out the audio clips of Break It Down with Brian H, keeping it 100. It's on the podcast platforms. Now, with those, they won't be on YouTube because, quite frankly, I just recorded an audio spot. But because the changes that the real Dwayne Allen and I are making to the program, I decided let's take Break It Down with Brian H and let's move it. And we'll have something else coming up for you in that time slot. So for everybody out there who's been supportive, like I said, thank you very much. If you haven't done so, if you stayed with me this long, I really appreciate it. Continue to support the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook if you haven't done so. You can simply go on, let me put that on your screen. Just go on facebook.com, search the Wrestling Realm. It's that simple. Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Realm. And then, like I said, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But, folks, that'll do it for this episode. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified every time the Wrestling Realm posts new content.